Growing your own food is a lot of work, and today we need to control some of the madness. Hi everybody, welcome to Living Traditions Homestead. This is Sarah and Kevin, and while our garden is growing amazingly, there are two areas where that's kind of out of control. Today we're going to be working in our two aisles of tomatoes and in two of our rows of vining plants. They're growing so largely that some of them are falling over and are growing into areas where they don't belong. So we're going to bring you along and show you how we do it here on our homestead.
Now keep in mind that when it comes to tomatoes, there's lots of different ways to grow them. You can grow them in cages, you can grow them on trellises like we do. You can grow them up a string. There's lots of different ways. We have settled on using the trellises because we find that it's the easiest to keep them under control and the easiest to harvest from. But that's our opinion. But we're going to show you today how we tie the tomatoes up to the trellis to keep them growing nice and straight and keep them off the ground throughout the entire growing season. So this is what works for us.
So last night, Kevin and I were working out here together and we tied up the tomatoes in this row. You can see that we've used a cotton string just to tie up the branches. We'll actually end up doing this a couple times during the course of the summer as they grow taller and taller. But you can see how neat and tidy everything is on this side of the row. It keeps the tomatoes from breaking on their branches, from hanging down on the ground. And keeps all of the tomatoes up and safe and in a way that we can harvest them easily. Now on the other side of the row, we haven't worked over here yet. This is what we're going to be working on today. And you can see that in some cases the branches have flopped over onto the ground, which exposes them to diseases and actually gives the branches an opportunity to actually break or get damaged when they fall over. So we're going to be tying these up with the cotton string. I'll show you how we do it here on our homestead. And it will just make everything much more neat and tidy in here. A much more enjoyable experience to be out here. So let's get going. It might rain today, so we're hoping, but we also have a lot of work to do before then. Okay, so we're working in between rain showers because it already has started raining. This is a problem area. Obviously a lot of the branches have kind of fallen down, so we need to support them. We're going to pick them up first and then Kevin's going to start on his side with a piece of cotton string, and while I hold these up, he's going to tie that. Then he'll take over holding these while I tie it around them and into the fencing here. I'll tie these up too, and we're going to tie them pretty tight so that they can't flop over.
We like to do it this way instead of tying individual stems or branches to the fence. One, because it's faster. You can see we just got done with a 4-foot section in a matter of a minute, and it allows room for the plants to grow without the string getting tight around them and choking them off.
So at this point we have supported it at this level, maybe 18 inches off the ground, but this, because these are all indeterminate tomato plants, will keep growing higher and higher. So as they get taller, we'll go back maybe every 12 or 18 inches high or so as they continue to grow, and we'll support them again all around. And it really has worked for us the last several years. This is the method that we've been using, and each year we are pleased every year.
Right, and we just use regular cotton string. We actually buy it in like the kitchen department at Walmart. It's nothing special, but you do want to get 100% cotton. That way if it ends up back in the ground when you're done for the end of the season or something, you're not putting anything into the ground that's going to poison anything.
So we're just going to go from section to section, tying these each up and supporting the tomato plants. Okay, so that's a lot better. You can see that they're nice and tied up on both sides. Being down there close to the tomato plants also gave us an opportunity to take off any branches that were too close to the ground, any leaves that looked yucky, and to do some minor weeding in the little holes of the soil. So that is a good job done. Now we need to tackle all the vines. I need to actually put on a long sleeve shirt and gloves because all the hairs on those vines really irritate my skin. So gotta suit up and get going. So as you can see, these guys are a little bit out of control. We want them to be growing up on the fencing and around the trellis. They've been growing really well, but we need to train them where to go. On either side of these two rows, I have a row of peppers on each side, and I really don't want them to start growing up on top of those pepper plants and up the wrong fencing.
So our goal today is just to redirect them to get them to grow back on their own trellises, and to hopefully clean up this walkway enough that we can walk in between the plants, which will make harvesting a lot easier when we get to that stage. We've got a lot of little cucumbers and everything else on already, so it's not going to be much longer before we're going to start harvesting some of those.
So let's get to work. Well, we're not completely winning the battle against the pests in the garden. We plan to do some videos on how we try to control the pests, but we're never going to win 100% the battle because we don't use harsh chemicals in our gardens. We're doing things that are considered organic as little as we can, but we also need to raise food, so we need to do something. Sometimes the best course of action is just to completely remove the plant from the garden. In this case, this is a pie pumpkin plant, and it looked terrible. It was completely yellowing. A lot of the leaves were wilting and looking terrible. I told Kevin to just rip it out of the ground, and actually the roots have been completely destroyed. It's a possibility that this could be a result of the cucumber beetle. They lay their eggs down in the ground, and then their larvae feed on roots from a lot of these squash and cucumber plants. It could also have been a borer that got into the stem and just completely ruined the plant. I don't really know, but in a lot of cases, it's just better to rip that thing right out of the ground, get it out of the garden. Don't put it in your compost because you don't want it to get in the soil there. Burn it is what we do, and it's just a safer alternative. Now, in a lot of cases, there may be time to replant, to poke some seeds in there and see if you can beat the bugs the next go round. We will not be doing this in this case. To be honest, I'm just out of the pumpkin seeds. We have a lot of other plants back there. So I just wanted to let you know that, hey, this stuff happens, and you just gotta do the best that you can.
So as we're working here, we're finding some squash bug or cucumber beetle eggs on the leaves, and we're just tearing off the part of the leaf that has the eggs on. Hopefully you can see this. Those little brown spots are the eggs, and you can either take off the whole leaf or just take off the spot that has the eggs, and then what you want to do is you want to burn these. We take them right over when we're done. We put them in our burn barrel and we burn them with our paper trash and stuff, and that way you make sure they never hatch and turn into more bad bugs. Look at what I got. First 2 cucumbers out of the garden. I know they're on the small side, but you know what? These are perfect to eat while I finish working. So, hey, awesome.
Okay, so we quick finished this center here. We have some work to do on the opposite side of each of these rows, but it's starting to rain and we need to protect you guys from the rain. So it looks a lot better. You know, some of the leaves are kind of in a weird position because we've moved them, but as they adjust to the sun, they'll flip themselves back over and then it won't look so crazy. And the vines that we've just kind of shoved through the fencing holes will also correct themselves and then start growing up toward the sun also. And then we'll be able to weave them in and out over the course of the weeks. Now we'll need to do this probably once a week in order to prevent this from happening again and in order to prevent them from, you know, branching out all over the garden. But it is a good job done. And now we can actually see that we have a lot of veggies coming.
Yeah, a lot of small cucumbers. Now the thing is, we know that by the end of garden season, the vines are going to be too big to do this with.
Right.
You know, eventually they're going to cover the walkway, which is going to make it harder to pick. But that's, you know, part of growing these types of plants. So the best you can do is really the best you can do. I mean, at this first part of the season, keep them up, keep them trained, so at least the majority of them will grow up until they get so big that you just can't do it anymore.
Hopefully by the time they're totally taking over, we're sick of cucumbers and it won't even matter anymore.
Last year our cucumbers did so well. We were picking so many cucumbers. We couldn't eat them all. We couldn't even sell enough at the farmer's market to keep up with how many we were getting. We started giving them to our chickens, and by the end of summer, even our chickens didn't want cucumbers. We'd throw them in, they'd kind of take a look at them, and they'd just walk away. I guess there is such thing as too much of a good thing.
Absolutely. Well, you guys, I hope that you learned something. I hope that you enjoyed watching us work in the garden. We really appreciate it. Hey, if this is the first time that you are watching one of our videos, first time to our channel, right now is the perfect time to hit the subscribe button below. If you're one of our traditionalists that watches every one of our videos, you guys, we appreciate you so much. Thank you. And until next time, you guys, thank you so much for stopping by the homestead. Take care and God bless.
God bless.